Next on the Gay News Network, TV coverage of the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras wows them down under. The Israeli president apologizes for homophobic remarks, and actors Jason Gould and Mitchell Anderson are not dating. And the Gay Agenda will compare election notes. Then reporter Scott Olson goes behind the scenes to learn why it takes a village people to bring back the sounds of the 70s. Then we'll tour the world of animal rights and explore everything from AIDS drugs testing to vegetarian travel. All of this plus a GNN exclusive with animal activists CHRISSIE Hynde, Kate Pearson, and Golden Girl RUE McCLANAHAN, who comes out of the closet.
Well, I used to sneak around and do it back before it was popular because...
Behind the van.
Yes, in the dark. I was in the closet, as Gretchen Weiler used to say.
So stay tuned for another exciting episode of the Gay News Network.
Hi, I'm Alicia Silverstone with PETA. When it comes to animals, there's no need to be a classroom cut-up. Use your right to refuse to dissect frogs, cats, pigs, even worms. Contact me at PETA for information on exciting, humane alternatives to dissection. They'll help you make the grade without using animals. Remember, biology is the study of life, not death.
Back to the Gay News Network. I'm Holly Landau.
And I'm Joe Liberatore. Topping our international news, the Associated Press reported that a protest of Israeli President Ezer Weizmann's home in Jerusalem prompted him to apologize for homophobic remarks made at a visit to a school. The incident was sparked when Israeli President Weizmann responded to a student's question on his position on gay civil rights. Weizmann said that he viewed homosexuality as an unnatural phenomenon and that it disgusted him. He went on to say that if he were a member of parliament, he would vote against legalizing same-sex marriages. In 1988, Israel repealed its sodomy laws and now prohibits discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation in the workplace and in the military.
Updating a story from our last show, a Minneapolis-St. Paul gay newspaper, The Focus Point, reported tourists' misconception of Tasmania's strict sodomy law could aid its repeal. Travel agents believe that Tasmania has experienced significant losses in revenue because of the widely held belief that two men wishing to share a room together is illegal. Unsure of the consequences, many travelers have opted to go elsewhere. The ultimate economic impact could bring about an end to the long unenforced sodomy law.
Also in Australia, television coverage of the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras parade and festivities in Sydney were watched by over 500,000 people. The program of highlights celebrated the month-long event and featured both social and cultural festivities. The gay and lesbian Mardi Gras became the most-watched television broadcast of the year, drawing nearly twice as many viewers as a highly publicized rugby game broadcast on the same night. This, according to the Associated Press.
In AIDS news, health ministry officials in Beijing, China, have announced that they will triple the country's budget for fighting AIDS in the country of some $1.2 billion as the epidemic grows. Unfortunately, the good news is undercut somewhat because the budget hike will only allocate about $1.8 million, a figure that is smaller than the municipal AIDS budget for Indianapolis, with a population of only 750,000. Health officials in Moscow have announced approval of a hemostrip HIV test, making Russia the first nation to approve its use. The test requires only 1 drop of blood to detect the presence of HIV and has shown to be 100% accurate in detecting the virus.
In Italy, the largest political party adopted a gay civil rights resolution, according to the Italian news agency ANSA. The Democratic Party of Italy adopted the resolution at their convention. The resolution and its acceptance by the political left marks a great step forward in the civil rights movement of gay and lesbian Italians. And in Sweden, 6 leading members of parliament, representing 3 political parties, have sought a constitutional guarantee against anti-gay legislation. This would include expanding the duties of the ombudsman against ethnic discrimination to include cases of discrimination based on sexual orientation, and expanding the rights of same-sex domestic partners in Sweden.
Scandinavia's first gay and lesbian television program, Homogen, was taken off the air. Producers say that the broadcaster could no longer financially support the program. The weekly documentary-style variety show was hosted by Anita Katunen, a lesbian activist, and Peter Knutsen, a gay press photographer. The pair remain optimistic that the popular show will attract bids from a financially stable broadcaster and resume production soon.
Topping our list of national news stories, high-tech vandals victimized the LA Gay and Lesbian Center's webpage called Queer Cyber Center. Violent graphics were inserted into the homepage, and anti-gay remarks such as AIDS kills fags dead were scrawled over the text like spray paint. The Cyber Center's coordinator was most upset by the statement, "What we are is wrong. The Bible says so. If you are gay or think you are, the QCC recommends suicide." The center traced the path of the perpetrator, but could only follow the trail to a server in New Jersey, which could have been used anonymously from anywhere in the world.
A survey by the American Society of Newspaper Editors posed a question on sexual orientation at the very end of a 156-question multiple-choice survey. The question came after waves were made at the last National Lesbian and Gay Journalists Association convention in Miami. According to O'Dwyer's, the newsletter for PR professionals, the goal of the study is to learn more about the people who work in newsrooms today so that the editors can be better planners and managers tomorrow.
Ross Perot is back in the headlines again. His company, Perot Systems, became the first major Texas-based company to offer domestic partners health benefits. Another major high-tech company, Hewlett-Packard, is now one of the largest corporations in the world to extend benefits to the partners of gay workers. Mitchell Anderson, the openly gay actor on Fox's Party of Five, recently spoke to the Washington Blade and said he wants to make a few things clear. First, he doesn't believe his hit TV show is in danger of cancellation. Second, he is participating in a hepatitis awareness campaign aimed at stopping the disease from spreading into the gay community. And third, he's now single, which means he's not dating Jason Gould, as widely reported in the tabloids. Anderson says that he barely knows the guy. But don't fret, the famous son of Barbra Streisand and Elliot Gould is doing okay on his own. According to an article in The Advocate, Jason wrote, directed, and starred in a comedy called Clear with his father Elliot Gould. Although Elliot and Barbara are divorced, they're still together on the support of their gay son.
Neil Giuliano, the mayor of Tempe, Arizona, came out of the closet when critics threatened to disclose his homosexuality. Some felt that he unfairly gave grants to gay and lesbian organizations. Giuliano denied that he was playing favorites, saying the grants are approved by a community review board. Senator Gary Richardson of Tempe said Giuliano is well respected, but that his homosexuality will hurt his political career. Congressman Jim Colby, also of Arizona, recently acknowledged being gay in response to a similar outing because he voted for the Defense of Marriage Act. And for our final national story, after languishing for months in bankruptcy court, the controversial lesbian erotic magazine On Our Backs has been purchased by Half Enterprises, the publisher of the bi-monthly magazine Girlfriends. Half Enterprises outbid The Advocate for the decade-old magazine, which once was hailed by Utne as one of the 10 most important magazines of the 1980s.
Stay tuned for Chrissy Hynde, RUE McCLANAHAN, Laura Branigan, and the Village People, plus local news briefs after this break.
Hi, I'm RUE McCLANAHAN with PETA. When disaster strikes, animal shelters are overloaded, and animals depend on all of us for help. Never abandon them. Food and water can run out, leaving them to starve. And please never leave them on chains or in cages from which they can't escape drowning or fire. Won't you lend a hand by offering a caring home to an animal refugee like little Lucky here? Please contact your local shelter. Thanks.
He protects all living things in the forest. But he can't do it alone. Please don't play with matches. Put out your campfires. And never, ever forget the words of Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Legislatures are experiencing a rash of new bills introduced by both sides of the aisle concerning gay marriage and other hot-button gay rights issues. Virginia proposed a ban on same-sex marriages, while a bill to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation in employment and housing was quickly killed. Other pro-gay bills, including a repeal of sodomy laws between consensual adults, an amendment to the hate crime laws to include sexual orientation, and legislation to give state employees domestic partnership benefits, have all stalled in committee.
The gay rights front has heated up in the Maryland Assembly as well. A pro-gay marriage bill drafted by John A. Pucker, a lobbyist and president of the Same-Sex Marriage Advocates Coalition, was sponsored by State Delegate Sharon Grossfeld. The legislation seeks to amend the law so that it will recognize any marriage between two consenting adults.
Dave Stone, new president of the Whitman Walker Clinic in Washington, D.C., will reassert the clinic's commitment to the gay community. Stone plans to change the public's perception of it solely as an AIDS clinic by raising and directing more money and media attention to gay and lesbian health programs, educational outreach programs, and legal services. The clinic recently elected its new board of directors, which include Hunter T. Carter as general counsel and Cornelius Baker, longtime clinic volunteer and director of the National Association of People with AIDS. Baker was elected as board secretary.
You'll remember that last year's AIDS ride lasted 3 days and went from Philadelphia to D.C. The ride sparked controversy around the distribution of proceeds, with 65% of proceeds originally budgeted for sponsors versus 35% that actually went to charity. The sponsors defend their cut of the proceeds as necessary cost to facilitate the event. The Philadelphia to D.C. ride raised a total of $4.5 million. This year's organizers are taking a much different route. The spectacular 340-mile route will wind through the Virginia countryside to the nation's capital. The ride this year is again sponsored by Tanqueray, and new sponsors include Banana Republic and Power Bar. The ride will benefit Food and Friends and Whitman Walker Clinic. And in our final news brief, Darlene Garner, senior pastor of the Metropolitan Community Church of Northern Virginia, or MCC NOVA, with a mostly lesbian and gay congregation, told the Washington Blade that the church is ready to offer more than just Sunday services. For the last 16 years, MCC NOVA had rented space each week at the Fairfax Unitarian Church in Oakton for its 83 members and is now considering the purchase of approximately 3,800 square feet in a townhouse along Democracy Lane in Fairfax City, across from the Courthouse Square Shopping Center. Garner believes the new facility would be good for the membership, since the building boasts a central location and can easily accommodate up to 130 members. The church still needs to raise $60,000, however, to reach its goal of $100,000.
Stay tuned to the Gay News Network as the Village People, Laura Branigan and Rose Royce, bring back the sounds of the 70s, and animal activists Chrissy Hynde, Dan Matthews, and RUE McCLANAHAN come out for the animals. And our political guests discuss how the gay vote breaks down in our next installment of the Gay Agenda, as GNN continues after these messages. Later on this program, reporter Frankie DeFrancesco and an adoption coordinator for the Humane Society, Franklin Mathis, take us on a tour of the wild world of animal rights.
But first, our political experts take us to a jungle of a different sort in our nation's capital. Gay Agenda host Anthony Rios leads a discussion on how the gay vote splits along party lines.
Voting equals power. Power equals change.
Hello and welcome to the Gay Agenda. I'm your host, Anthony Rios. Joining me today are three longtime activists in the D.C. area. Carl Schmidt is the current president of the local chapter of the Log Cabin Republicans. Mindy Daniels is the executive director of the newly formed National Lesbian Political Action Committee, and Rick Rosendahl is the current president of the Gay and Lesbian Activist Alliance. Thank you all for joining me. First thing I'd like to put on the table today is the national elections. What are gay and lesbian voters looking for as they go to the polls? Rick, let's start with you.
Well, I think that gay men and lesbians have the same range of concerns that other citizens have. But I think that we are more, generally speaking, more self-confident about asserting our own rights of equal citizenship. An example of the fact that we have made progress is that is with the gay marriage votes that have been going in the state legislatures to overturn, to deny recognition of any marriages, for example, if they end up being recognized in Hawaii. In Colorado, where there's been furor over Amendment 2, there's been much more discussion of gay issues, and the state legislature's vote was much closer than, for example, in South Dakota.
Mindy, what's your take on this? Are they voting just on civil rights issues, or is it more involved in that for today's gay and lesbian voter?
Well, from our perspective, we would hope that it is all about civil rights issues. You know, an individual may not have already been affected by an anti-gay initiative. They may not have been fired because they were a lesbian or kicked out of the military or what have you, but we all need to care, and we need to care about each other because it can affect you the next day. You can be the person walking out of the bar that gets hit over the head and then becomes the president of an anti-violence organization. We can't wait until it affects us. I think, though, that with all the anti-gay lesbian marriage initiatives across the country and the press that it's been getting and all the bashing that's been going on, it becomes more and more of an issue for gays and lesbians, and I think that they will vote on a civil rights platform more than any other platform right now this year.
Carl, do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I certainly think that gay issues and HIV/AIDS issues are extremely important to gay people, no matter if they're Republican or Democratic. So yes, I think gay issues are very important, but there are other issues as well.
Well, let me ask you this. Given the anti-gay stances we've seen, particularly in the Republican Party, and I know those same undercurrents are in the Democratic Party as well, are we holding our leaders to account in a way that would have them, I don't know if they can put a stop to it, but at least try to curtail some of the anti-gay sentiment that we hear?
Well, I think that a lot of leaders are trying to do that, but they need to know how important it is to us. I mean, when you say leaders, what you're really talking about are politicians. And politicians go like this. What's going to hurt me? What's going to help me? The more power and influence that we have, which is one of the reasons why the PAC was formed, the further we're going to get. But I want to respond to something that Carl said, and that's that we may be concerned about taxes, but if you don't have a job because you were fired because you're lesbian or gay, you're not going to be worrying so much about paying your taxes or even what they are, because you're not going to have the job to begin with. So I think that ultimately and hopefully people will come around to a point of view that the civil rights agenda is the agenda for lesbians and gays, and they really need to vote that way.
Now, if I could respond to something Mindy said, just that, you know, they do respond. They are politicians. They do respond to voters. And gay voters, Republican and Democrat, both have to speak up. And it's important to have gay Republicans out there because they're going to respond to gay Republicans more than Democrats. So it's really up to the gay people out there to speak up, and they will respond. They have to.
And it's instructive, even when they're only paying lip service, that they feel compelled to pay lip service to non-discrimination. The fact is that
we shouldn't just get lip service.
No.
We need more than that.
I said it's instructive, even if that's all. You have to start with the fact that hypocrisy is the tribute that vice pays to virtue, as La Rochefoucauld said, and Barney Frank likes to quote. They wouldn't have to pay lip service if they didn't recognize that they're on a weak moral stand there. So that's not good enough, obviously.
I actually think it's good that these issues, all these controversies are coming out because it's advancing our agenda.
Absolutely.
Well, more often than not, like Carl said, we are going to win the debate. We're on the right side, and more people are going to realize that it's only right to give people equal rights, because it can turn around and it can be them next time.
People don't want to see discrimination.
No, they don't.
And they don't, you know, they're not there is a very vocal element within the Republican Party that has extreme views.
The radical right has tended to dominate the Republican 104th Congress. Well, look at where that stands. How much of their agenda did they get through? And most of the stuff they were addressing wasn't. They didn't feel that they could get away with addressing the social issues. The contract with America, whether you agree with it or not, didn't have all the overt anti-gay stuff that people expected.
But we could go down a whole another avenue of that conversation. No, and we could talk for hours about that one. That's all the time we have today on our show. I want to thank you for joining us, and I'd like to thank my guests for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. There's no denying it. Retro clothes and retro culture are back. The sounds and fashions of the 70s continue to show up on fashion runways and tape decks everywhere.
To find out what it's all about, reporter Scott Olson went behind the scenes at the Nissan Pavilion in Virginia for a blast from the past, featuring musical sensations The Trammps, Laura Branigan, The Village People, and Rose Royce.
The old songs was about having a good time, going out and partying, putting on your polyester suits, the fellas in the chains, and the ladies would put their heels on and go out to a party. And that was the whole idea with disco.
People love to dance. It's as simple as that, and I think they always will. I think there's times when when dance music will be more popular than others, but it will always be around. I mean, there'll always be clubs. People always want to go out and dance, and it's never really real disco music, or, you know, the production might change, but as far as dance music, it's never really gone away.
Why do you think the Village People and disco music are so popular again?
Because we're fabulous. Partying never goes out of fashion.
This is true.
Come on now! Sail the 7 seas. Put your mind at ease. Oh, let's make a stand. Can't you see me here?
What did you think of all the groups?
It was super.
Who did you come to see the most?
Probably Laura Branigan and the Village People. And it was great because it was at the height of college, and it's great to see it come back because it's just good, clean fun.
Were you around in the 70s? No, you weren't, were you? What did you think of the Village People?
They were great. Fantastic.
Can you do the YMCA?
YMCA!
When the Village People and disco were hot in the 70s, critics used to say this was a fad. And it's obviously not, so what do you say to it?
Ha-ha. Really? Where are the critics now? Right. We're still here.
People love to dance. They have since the beginning of time, and I don't think it will change that much. I did a remake, my first of Donna Summer song. No one ever did one of her songs, so I did Dim All the Lights, and it's slamming.
Dim all the lights be done, tonight it's all the way.
Now, you're definitely dressed for this concert. This is great. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. Groovy.
Groovy. Very good. And what did you think?
It was very funky. We got autographs. She got some autographs down here from the Trammps.
Very nice. Very nice.
Never wash again.
YMCA.
You can get yourself clean. You can have a good meal. You can do whatever you feel.
Their music may be 2 decades old, but the fabulous sound of the 70s is still alive today in the 90s, and disco goes on. For Behind the Scenes, this is Scott Olson. Thank you.
One thing about the 70s revival is that polyester's back and fur and leather are out. One of the toughest things to decide in the 70s was whether or not to wear polka dots with stripes. The questions we ask today are not so simple. For instance, is it ethical or compassionate to wear animal fur? What about testing AIDS drugs on animals? And should we think of animals as food?
To help us find the answers to these questions, in our next segment, we'll visit with Dan Matthews of PETA and AIDS activist James Brown during World Animal Awareness Week. They'll explain their views on the ethics of medical testing. Then we'll find out why so many Hollywood stars are animal lovers and are having success in promoting the cause of animal rights.
Hi, I'm Franklin Mayfiz. Today we're broadcasting from the Ellipse outside the White House, where both activists and celebrities have come together to march for the rights of animals. It's part of the World Congress for Animals. The animal rights activists hope to raise the public awareness to the unnecessary suffering and unethical treatment that many animals are subject to at the hands of humans. We have with us Wayne PACELLI from the Humane Society of the United States. Wayne, what message do you hope today's march will bring to the people on Capitol Hill, and why are you personally here today? Well, animals are not tools for research. They're not crops to be harvested. They're not units of production. They're individual beings that deserve decent respect and just treatment. And we're here to raise our voices and say this nonsense and this brutality has to stop. What do you say to activists that are concerned about the ending of animal research to find a cure for AIDS?
Well, everything of importance that we've learned about AIDS has come through studies involving patients, not through animals. Animals don't even get AIDS, and we'd like to see all of the millions of dollars going to fight AIDS to actually help people instead of hurt animals. I think enough is enough, and as somebody who's gay and also an animal advocate, I've cast a very critical eye at all the magic AIDS potions that animal experimenters have promised over the years, only to see them all fail when they're tried on humans. So I think very soon the plug will be pulled on AIDS animal tests.
I'm an HIV-positive person who loves animals, and while I want to cure as desperately as Jeff Geddes or anybody else with AIDS or people that care about them, I don't want to live at the expense of animals.
What we really love to see is that you're here to support the ethical treatment of animals. Could you just tell us a little bit about what brings you out?
Well, today's the Animals Day, and I think there's been a lot of divisiveness, especially within the context of the animal rights community. There's been a lot of divisiveness concerning animal testing, and that issue has come to the forefront during this last week. So it's especially important this week, being an animal rights rally, that we pull together and realize what our priorities, that human and animal rights, we're really all fighting for the same thing.
Let's save the animal kingdom. We've been, we've been chipping away bit by bit for years, and it's great to see, a lot of like-minded people. Maybe we can change some people's minds.
Ms. McClanahan, everybody knows that you have always been a real golden girl when it comes out to speaking up for animals. What inspired you to be so outspoken and so active on this particular issue?
Well, I used to sneak around and do it back before it was popular because...
Behind the van.
Yes, in the dark. I was in the closet, as Gretchen Weiler used to say. But when I moved to California, it was a lot more acceptable. I found a lot of groups, Actors and Others for Animals, for instance. When I moved to California in '73 to do Maude, I found that there were other people who cared about animals, too. And so it was all right to come out in the open and become more of a crusader. And, of course, as years have gone by, the numbers have increased, and the young people have joined, which is wonderful, because it's so nice to know that when I die, the cause will go on and things will get better and better for the animals. I'd like to see it really improve before then, of course.
Well, we certainly hope that you and the cause go on for a long time, and thank you very much for coming out of the closet to speak out on this issue, and we'll let you get back to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was painless.
Taking us out of today's show is some additional footage from the Animal Awareness Rally. For the Gay News Network, I'm Joe Liberatore.
And I'm Holly Landau. Thanks for watching.
I'm with Carlson Wagonly Travel and also the Vegetarian Travel magazine, and we are out here promoting vegetarian travel.
See, a lot of people walk around with blinders on, like horses. Now, if you take the blinders off, you're going to see the stray dogs, and you're going to do something.
That's one of my primary gripes with people is they're abusive pets. If you don't know how to care for one, you shouldn't get one. They're just the same as children.
Coming up next on the Gay News Network, Chinese gay activists defy the communist government while the Discover card denies the service to gay and lesbian businesses on the web. Then be sure to grab your change purses. Drag Freak Bingo is back in the news, inspiring fun and fashionable AIDS charity events from Philadelphia to Seattle. In our latest installment of the Gay Agenda, we'll examine the effect of gay and lesbian media images on young adults.